Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is refreshing Spotify, scrolling through YouTube, or asking a friend, "What have you been listening to lately?" Not because their current playlist ran out. Not because they're bored. But because something deep inside them is pulling, almost like hunger, towards something they haven't heard yet. And here's what's fascinating, that pull isn't random. It isn't weakness. It is one of the most sophisticated biological, psychological, and cultural forces ever studied by science. Today, we're going to trace it all the way back to its source. Let's start in the brain, because that's where the story really begins. In 2011, neuroscientist Valerie Salimpour published a landmark study out of McGill University that changed the way scientists think about music forever. Her team monitored brain activity while participants listened to music that gave them chills, that spine-tingling, goosebump-raising sensation most of us know well. What they found was extraordinary. In the moments just before the musical peak, the anticipation phase, the brain's nucleus accumbens lit up like a switchboard. This is the same reward circuitry activated by food, sex, and in some cases, addictive substances. Music wasn't just entertaining the brain. It was hijacking it. But here's the detail that unlocks everything: the highest dopamine response didn't come from the familiar. It came from the almost familiar, music that followed a pattern you recognized just enough to create expectation, and then broke that expectation in the most satisfying way. Your brain, in other words, is not just listening to music. It is constantly predicting music. And when a song defies those predictions cleverly, you get a neurochemical reward. This is why your favorite song eventually stops giving you chills. Your brain has fully modeled it. The prediction machine has nothing left to learn. And so, almost involuntarily, you go looking for the next song that can surprise you again. Now, this creates a fascinating paradox, one that researchers have been wrestling with for decades. In the 1960s, psychologist Robert Zajon coined what he called the mere exposure effect, the finding that we tend to like things more the more we encounter them. Play a song a few times, and familiarity breeds fondness. This is why pop radio works. Repetition builds comfort, and comfort builds affection. But, and this is critical, exposure has a ceiling. Play that same song too many times, and something shifts. The comfort curdles into irritation. Psychologists call this satiation, and it is ruthlessly consistent across cultures, age groups, and musical genres. Studies tracking streaming data across millions of users have confirmed it. The average listener's engagement with a song peaks somewhere between the third and seventh listen, then begins a slow, irreversible decline. What this means practically is that we are biologically wired to oscillate between the known and the unknown. Too much novelty is anxiety-inducing. Too much familiarity is numbing. We exist in a constant, restless search for the optimal middle ground, what psychologists call the sweet spot of complexity. New music is how we keep finding it. But the urge for new music isn't purely neurological. Pull back the lens, and you'll find something even more profound. Music is one of the primary languages through which human beings construct and broadcast identity. Consider how we actually talk about music. We don't just say, "I enjoy this song." We say, "This is my kind of music." The possessive is everything. Music scholar Simon Frith argued for decades that we don't just use music to express who we are, we use it to figure out who we are. And that process never stops. This is especially visible in adolescence. Research from the University of Texas found that musical taste diversifies and intensifies dramatically between the ages of 12 and 25, precisely the years when identity formation is at its most turbulent. Teenagers don't discover new music casually. They devour it, because every new artist, every new genre, is a possible answer to the question, who am I? But here's what's surprising, this dynamic doesn't end at 25. It just changes shape. A 2019 study analyzing Spotify listening data found that while people's openness to completely new genres declines after their mid-20s, their hunger for new artists within familiar genres actually remains robust well into middle age and beyond. The brain doesn't stop wanting novelty. It just gets more selective about where it looks for it. Now we have to talk about what happens when you combine this ancient neurological hunger with the most sophisticated recommendation engine in human history. Spotify today serves over 600 million users. Its Discover Weekly algorithm, launched in 2015, generates personalized playlists by analyzing not just what you listen to, but when you skip, how long you linger, and what you return to. In its first year alone, Discover Weekly was responsible for driving 5 billion song streams. 5 billion. That is an algorithm successfully feeding a biological hunger at industrial scale. But there is a cost. When your music discovery is entirely outsourced to a machine that optimizes for engagement, you stop wandering. You stop the aimless digging through record crates, the friend recommendation that felt slightly wrong but opened a door you'd never have found alone. The algorithm gives you more of what you already like, which satisfies the familiarity side of the equation but quietly starves the genuine novelty side. Music critics and cultural commentators have begun calling this the recommendation trap, a kind of comfortable sonic echo chamber where discovery feels real, but is actually tightly bounded. The lesson here isn't to abandon algorithms. It's to use them as a starting point, not a ceiling. Actively seek music the algorithm would never recommend. Follow a genre map somewhere unexpected. The discomfort you feel in the first 30 seconds of something truly unfamiliar. That's your prediction machine working overtime. Give it time, and it might just become your next obsession. There is one more layer to this story that most people never examine, and it might be the most important one. We don't just seek new music because of dopamine or identity or social signaling. We seek it because we are, at our core, emotional beings who need a soundtrack that matches where we are right now. The same person who found solace in melancholic indie folk during a difficult breakup will seek out something propulsive and euphoric when their life turns a corner. The grieving parent who can no longer bear to hear the songs that played at their child's birthday parties. The entrepreneur who builds a new playlist every time they begin a new chapter of their company. Music is not just entertainment. It is emotional infrastructure. Musicologist and Professor David Huron has argued that music functions as a kind of emotional regulation tool, a way of inducing, maintaining, or shifting mood states with surgical precision. From this perspective, the urge for new music is really the urge for new emotional experiences, or for old emotional experiences accessed from a new angle. We seek music the way we seek therapy, or friendship, or prayer. Because we are always changing, and we need the music to change with us. So what does all of this mean for you, sitting here with your earbuds in or your speakers on? It means the next time you find yourself restlessly opening a music app with no clear goal, don't dismiss that impulse as distraction. Recognize it for what it is, a sophisticated cognitive and emotional system doing exactly what it evolved to do, scanning the horizon for experiences that can enrich you. Feed it deliberately. Build a practice of active discovery, not just passive listening. Set aside time each week to follow a genre you know nothing about. Read about the cultural context of music from outside your own tradition. Let yourself be confused and uncomfortable by something unfamiliar. Because the science is clear, the songs that eventually become the most meaningful to us are almost never the ones that were instantly easy. They are the ones that asked something of us first. The urge for new music is not a trivial quirk of modern consumer culture. It is one of the oldest, most human impulses we carry, a convergence of neuroscience, psychology, culture, and the enduring need to feel fully alive. Every new song you discover is your brain proving it still wants to grow. Every genre you explore is your identity still being written. And every time a melody hits you in a place you weren't expecting, that sudden, inexplicable feeling that a stranger somehow wrote a song about your exact life, that is not coincidence. That is what music was always for. Go find the next one.